In a world where love and betrayal collide, Ethan Miller faces a night that will change everything. From a seemingly perfect life with his wife, Olivia, to a shocking act of revenge, Ethan's story is one of love, loss, and the dark paths we sometimes take when our hearts are broken. Join us as we dive into this gripping tale of trust shattered and the lengths one man will go to protect his family. This is a story of passion, betrayal, and the haunting consequences that follow. My name is Ethan Miller, and my wife is Olivia. We met in college when I was 23, and she was 21. At the time, I was in the Army, pursuing a dual degree in economics and accounting, while she was majoring in biology. My military duties were sporadic but hazardous, as our unit was often tasked with discrete missions, sometimes involving retribution against seemingly friendly targets. In essence, we functioned as assassins, with my specialty lying in planning and close combat. I graduated at 25, and 2 years later, I resigned from the Army to marry Olivia. Within 4 years, we had 2 daughters. I worked independently, handling accounting for local businesses and trading commodities from home. Olivia, busy with the kids, later secured a position at a laboratory affiliated with a local college. After a decade of marriage with both girls in school, I continued working from home to support Olivia's return to employment, which she enjoyed. We lived in the house I grew up in, having bought it from my parents when they moved to Florida. Some of our Army missions offered the unit opportunities to acquire loot, which we divided among the members. Having some financial stability, we decided to celebrate one February. We went out with our neighborhood friends for dinner and dancing at the Blue Moon Bar and Grill. There were 8 of us, each with a babysitter for the night. Olivia and I had booked a room at the Grandview Hotel connected to the club. She looked stunning at 5 feet 6 inches, slim with brunette hair, dressed in a blue silky dress. We enjoyed a wonderful meal and had a great time dancing at the club. During the evening, a group of 6 entered, including Ryan Carter, a prominent local team's all-pro point guard. He was noticed by all the women at our table, accompanied by a lovely blonde woman wearing what seemed like a large engagement ring. Our friend Amelia mentioned that she was a cheerleader for the team and engaged to Carter. After some time, Carter focused on our table and approached. Without acknowledging me, he asked Olivia to dance. I tried to intervene, but Olivia went along without a backward glance. Annoyed, I walked to the bar, passing by them. Olivia seemed indifferent as I got a coffee. After 2 fast dances, a slow number played, and Olivia embraced Carter. Feeling increasingly frustrated, I stayed at the bar, ignoring the disapproval from the women at our table. Olivia, absorbed in her dance with Carter, didn't notice when the slow number ended. They separated, and Olivia returned to our table. I stayed at the bar, sipping my coffee. Spotting me, Olivia seemed flustered and sat next to Amelia. As I approached them, I remarked that they seemed to have had their fun, though I might have been a bit too harsh. It was just a bit of dancing, nothing serious. Amelia explained. Feeling offended, I took a seat. As Amelia and Olivia excused themselves to the ladies' room, when they returned, Olivia wasn't with Amelia. Curious, I asked where Olivia was. She left with Ryan. June informed me. Shocked, I rushed outside and saw Olivia getting into a red Escalade, which then drove off. Back at the table, Amelia addressed the others, questioning if they were aware of Olivia's actions. I suggested to Amelia that she should let Olivia have her fun and that she would likely return the next day. Frustrated, I asserted that I didn't need Olivia to come back and declared that our relationship was over. This proclamation caused a stir at the table, with some thinking I was too harsh. Angrily, I snapped at them, expressing my desire to have nothing to do with any of them, considering they knew what was happening but didn't warn me. As I headed toward the coat check desk, I noticed a blonde woman who had come with Carter. She was in tears, so I approached her and asked if she was his fiancée. I was, but it's over now. She confirmed, her voice trembling. She revealed that they had gone to their house in Bel Air, and he had promised not to do such things once they were engaged. Apologetically, she mentioned that he would likely be done with Olivia by morning and would drive her home. Despite her tears, she managed to smile as I handed her my business card. Here's my card. Call me if you need to talk. I told her. I retrieved my coat but left Olivia's. Then I went to the hotel room, packed my belongings, and checked out. While driving home, a fully formed plan came to me. This situation reminded me of something that had happened during my time in the service, a reason I was still alive today. It's a shame a plan hadn't occurred to me earlier, before Olivia left. I parked my car in the garage, engaged the security system, and retrieved the rope stored in the basement. I undressed, put on a black Under Armour suit, a black hoodie, dark gray sweatpants, old sneakers, and 2 sets of gloves. I also grabbed a balaclava mask. Climbing up to the attic with the rope, I fastened it securely to a beam, as I had done in my childhood home. I climbed out of the narrow window, bounced down the side of the house, and ran through the wooded area on that side. I hopped the side fence and headed to the rear workshop. Inside, I grabbed a backpack, extra wool socks, a pink scarf, and an old hand axe from a toolbox. I packed everything and grabbed my bike, pedaling toward the river through the woods, crossing the river bridge and heading up toward Bel Air. I spotted the house with a basketball hoop and the red Escalade. I used the axe to break the passenger side window, triggering the alarm. I hid behind a porch pillar, and when the door opened, I swiftly dealt with the man inside. Returning to the house, I closed the front door, turned, and jogged off. I jumped the stone wall, retrieved my bike, and took out the wool socks. I put the axe, knife, gloves, and shoes inside the backpack, zipped it up, and mounted the bike, riding away toward the river. Near the bridge, I stopped and tossed the entire backpack as far as I could into the fast-moving river. There had been rain the day before, and the river was swift. Riding my bike back home through the nearby woods, I let myself in. Inside the workshop, I changed my socks and switched to another pair of sneakers, spraying an ammonia solution on the bike's handlebars and pedals, then wiping them clean. Jogging back, I hopped the side fence and climbed up the side of the house, which proved to be more challenging than expected. Nevertheless, I made it and scrambled through the small window, pulling up the rope. I wound it and wiped the window sill with a rag. Trotting down to the basement, I used the rope to remove my clothes, including the mask and gloves, and put them into the washer in the basement bathroom. I showered for an extended period, washing everything twice. After completing that, I put on a pair of exercise shorts and went upstairs, leaving the basement door open to hear when the washer stopped. After some thought, I decided to wear the clothing from the club the night before. Returning to the basement, I transferred the wet clothing to the dryer. Going upstairs, I made a snack, had a shot of whiskey, and sat for a while, reflecting on things. When the dryer stopped, I took the clothes upstairs and put them away. The balaclava mask went back into the closet where I had initially stored it. Glancing at the clock, it was 2:50 a.m. The entire sequence, from entering the house after the club to this moment, began at midnight. After going downstairs, I sat on the couch, had another whiskey, and fell asleep. I woke to the door chime, checked the door camera display, and saw 2 individuals, an African American woman and a white man with a crew cut. They were police officers. The doorbell rang again, and I opened it. Detective Davis and Detective Parker introduced themselves as they flashed their badges. I was uncertain and asked about Olivia, expressing my concern for her safety. "She's fine, Mr. Miller. She hasn't suffered any physical harm. Mr. Carter, on the other hand, was attacked," Detective Davis assured me. I invited them inside and inquired about Olivia's location. "She's at Mercy General, being treated for shock," Detective Parker informed me. Pausing for a moment, I looked at them, and they returned the gaze, indicating the couch. "Please, have a seat," I suggested. They chose separate, straight-back chairs, and I settled on the couch. "I think you should explain what happened," I proposed. "What have you been doing since you left the Blue Moon with Olivia last night?" Detective Parker repeated the question. "We need you to tell us everything, Mr. Miller. It's important," Detective Davis added, her tone firm. Detective Parker pressed, and I explained that I had gone to our hotel room, packed my things, and driven home. I had then consumed enough drinks to fall asleep on the couch. They inquired if anyone else was present, and I confirmed that the kids were with a sitter for the night. When asked if I had made any calls or sent emails, I replied in the negative but emphasized that I had never left the house. Detective Davis observed the surroundings and noted the security system, inquiring about its coverage. "I can show you," Come upstairs. I offered. I led them to the upstairs office and sat at the computer desk, demonstrating the system. I downloaded data from 6 p.m. to their arrival and provided them with a jump drive. The system covers all 3 doors, front, side, and patio, including the sliding door to the pool area. However, the side I mentioned, facing the woods, has 2 large windows that don't open and lack coverage. I explained. We'll need to confiscate the computer, Mr. Miller. Detective Parker stated. Is that really necessary? Couldn't someone have tampered with it before you arrived? I questioned. You're right, it could have been tampered with. But we still need it for our investigation. We'll return it as soon as possible, no more than a day. Detective Parker agreed. I'll download the same data onto an external drive for you. I assured him. I carried out the task as they requested to look around. I allowed them but insisted they stay together and with me. They took some pictures and then left. It was 7:10 a.m. I informed Olivia's parents, Richard and Elizabeth, who lived in the neighboring area, about what had happened. They were at their lake house at the time. I can't believe she would do this. Richard was taken aback by Olivia's actions. Elizabeth seemed less surprised. Are you going to see Olivia? She asked. No, I don't want anything to do with her after what she's done. I stated firmly. Ethan, I know you're hurting, but... Richard started. It's unfortunate what happened to that guy, but it's not my responsibility. He had a reputation for this kind of behavior. When Olivia gets out of the hospital, she needs to stay away from me and the house. We can make arrangements for her belongings. I stated coldly. Why don't you move out and let Olivia stay? Richard suggested. This is my house, not community property. The conversation is over. I asserted. The conversation ended, and I called my parents in Florida, recounting the events. They, too, were shocked by Olivia's behavior. I saw a headline about Ryan Carter being attacked and killed at his home. Awful business. My dad mentioned. The news didn't come as a surprise. The landline rang, and it was Sophia. Have you heard about Ryan? Is Olivia okay? Where is she? She inquired. Olivia's at Mercy General. She's in shock. To be honest, I don't want to see her. I said, my voice tight with anger. Ethan, you need to be there for her. She needs your support. Sophia urged. She'll never have my support after what she did. I retorted. The conversation turned heated, and Sophia accused me of being a pig before hanging up. I showered again and got dressed to pick up the kids from the sitter around 8 a.m. When we got home, the kids asked about Olivia. Mom won't be here today. Let's just get ready for your soccer games. I told them, forcing a smile. I took them to the soccer complex for their noon and 1:30 p.m. games. I relaxed while watching them play, and afterward, we enjoyed ice cream before heading home. Upon returning, I found messages on my muted cell phone. One from Olivia's parents stated she was at Mercy General, non-communicative. Another doctor at the hospital requested a call. There was also a message from Sophia. Ethan, Olivia is with the police and not talking to anyone. I think you should cool off and bring the girls to see her. It might help. I called the girls downstairs. Girls, Mom is in the hospital. She's emotionally shaken but not physically injured. What happened? They both asked, their faces etched with worry. Mom went off with a famous basketball player to his house last night. There's no easy way to say this, and I thought about keeping it from you, but I figured you'd find out. When she was there, someone attacked the basketball player, but apparently not her. She must have found him or something because she is in the hospital in shock. They hesitated about visiting her, but I instructed them to get dressed, and we proceeded to the hospital. I called Dr. Emily Walker again. Olivia is traumatized and currently in a catatonic state. I'm not sure bringing the girls is a good idea. I don't want to see her, but if you think it might help Olivia, I'll bring the girls. Do they know about the circumstances? You mean about Olivia being with another man? Yes, they do. The girls are dressed and ready to come if you believe it might help Olivia. All right, Meet me in room 3 in 30 minutes. At the hospital, Dr. Walker, a psychiatrist in her late 30s, spoke briefly with us before addressing the girls. She explained their mother's severe shock and apparent disorientation, suggesting that seeing the girls might be beneficial. The girls expressed a desire to see her. I accompanied them to the door and looked in. Olivia sat in bed, staring at a TV with cartoons. Tentatively, the girls approached. Chloe, the oldest, touched her hand and called her, "Mom." Hannah followed, but there was no reaction. Hannah started to cry. I comforted her, picked her up, glanced at Olivia, noting her unresponsive state, and took Chloe's hand to lead them out. "We tried," I said softly to Dr. Walker. "Will Mommy wake up?" Chloe asked, her eyes filled with tears. "Yes, honey, she will. It might just take some time. Maybe we can visit her again soon?" I reassured her. "What if she doesn't wake up?" Hannah whispered, clinging to me. "She will, sweetheart. I know it. Maybe slowly, but she will. Girls, I will let you know when she is back from this," the doctor stated, kneeling before them. We left the hospital, both girls crying in the car. I questioned whether I should have taken them, desiring to see if their presence would help Olivia despite my anger over her infidelity. I hadn't wished this upon her. I felt remorseful, though she deserved to suffer, not like this. I felt some tears on my cheeks. Back home, I made eggs and toast for them to eat, intentionally involving them in the cooking to lift their spirits. Then I put on a movie for them. In my office, I called a friend, a public defender, seeking information on what happened at Carter's house after I left. "I can't get the police reports yet, but ambulance run reports might be publicly available. I can try to get those for you," he offered. "Yes, please. That would be great." We hung up. I joined the girls in the living room, trying to focus on the movie but unable to stop pondering what might happen. An hour later, my lawyer friend called back. "I emailed you the ambulance run report. It's not good." His voice was low. The report revealed a distressing situation. I shared details of the police visit with my friend. "If your security footage shows no one coming or going, you likely don't need to worry. However, the police can be unpredictable. I recommend you consult with a good lawyer, just in case." Though I believed I didn't need a lawyer, I called the woman he recommended. After reviewing the ambulance report, I learned that the police found Olivia with Carter's head cradled in her lap, covered in blood, dressed in a thin robe, chanting, "No," repeatedly. The police took her to the hospital, where she remained unresponsive. An officer had asked if she saw who did it, but she provided no response. This sickened me, making me wonder if she would ever recover. I researched PTSD, having done so before, specifically exploring shock-induced catatonic states. I noted that recovery from a catatonic state was possible, but the long-term effects of PTSD could be severe. My appointment with Samantha Carter was scheduled for Monday morning at 9:30. She gave me her cell number in case the police contacted me earlier, but they didn't. Sunday was a quiet day. The girls and I lounged around, and I tried to reassure them about Olivia's eventual return, acknowledging that she might still need our help. I wondered about Olivia's reaction to me, doubting she had witnessed anything significant. If she did, it would likely be a person in black with a mask. But assumptions were uncertain. I didn't think she had any experience with me that would lead her to seriously consider me capable of what I did. Monday morning, after sending the girls to school, I monitored local news coverage of Carter's death. Olivia's name wasn't mentioned, but it was known that he had hosted a married woman during the attack. The police were called by a neighbor in response to Olivia's screaming. So far, no one but the authorities had connected Olivia or me to the incident, but I knew that would likely change in time. Samantha Carter, a sharp-looking blonde of about 45 years, heard the story, reviewed the ambulance report, and was appalled. After confirming the integrity of the security video, I requested the return of my computer for work, providing a retainer. Samantha called the police station, requesting Detective Davis to facilitate its retrieval. The police agreed to return your computer. They'll send someone to my office tomorrow morning at 9. In the meantime, you have enough time to check if it's been tampered with. You'll know if it has," Samantha said after hanging up. Okay, I'll send someone tomorrow morning to get it from you. I replied automatically. No, I'll send someone from the office. I corrected myself, shaking my head. Okay, he'll be there at 9. She nodded in understanding. Once she was off the phone, I conveyed to her that I wouldn't talk to the cops and that I'd have a phone with me to record any discussions if necessary. I understand. She nodded, her expression serious. That afternoon, after the girls returned from school, they immediately inquired about Olivia. I had contacted the doctor earlier, but there was no significant change. How's Mom doing? Chloe asked, her brow furrowed with worry. No change, honey. The doctor says she's still the same. I said, trying to sound reassuring. The girls delved into their homework, and later, we ordered pizza. If your mom doesn't come home soon, I'm going to have to learn how to cook. I joked, hoping to lighten the mood. The girls laughed. Truth be told, I was actually quite skilled in the kitchen, just not accustomed to cooking at home often. Later, when Chloe's sister went upstairs, she lingered. Dad, are you going to forgive Mom for what she did? She asked quietly. Honey, right now, I just want her to get better. That's all that matters. Shortly after, the landline rang. It was David Wilson from the newspaper. Mr. Miller, this is David Wilson from the Tribune. We have information suggesting it was your wife, Olivia, who was with Ryan Carter when he was attacked. Can you confirm that? I wasn't surprised. I had known this was coming. I'd prefer to keep this private. You do realize this could have serious consequences for my daughters, don't you? They go to school here. Mr. Miller, this is going to come out. I can't prevent that. I sighed, knowing he was right. Reluctantly, I confirmed it. And how do you feel about the death of your wife's lover? He pressed. Let me be clear, Mr. Wilson. If anything you publish harms my family, I will take legal action against you and your paper. I stated coldly. This is going to come out, Mr. Miller. I can't prevent that. He said, his voice taking on a hard edge. Observing a TV truck parked in front of the house through the window, Channel 7, I conceded. I see a TV truck. I suppose you're right. Sorry, I had to go. A knock came at the door. Checking the camera feed, I noticed a young woman with a microphone. Leave, you're trespassing, and I will call the police. I communicated over the intercom. Is your wife there, Mr. Miller? She shouted. I immediately called the local precinct and requested assistance in removing the press from my property. They responded, dispersing the group of 6 people, but the trucks remained, now totaling 4. Next, I called Dr. Walker. You've got to secure Olivia before the press gets wind of where she is. I urged. Don't worry, Ethan. We've already taken precautions. She's safe. We also discussed relocation and the girls' schooling. They were adamant about continuing to attend their current school, even if it meant living elsewhere. I'll consider it. I conceded, though I wasn't sure what I would do. I contacted Samantha, seeking advice. She agreed to issue a statement to the press to try and alleviate the situation. The statement, issued through her office, expressed our desire for privacy, stating, no comment on the rumors about my wife and affirming there would be no future comments. It warned that the media's continued presence outside the house would be met with legal action if it harmed the family and requested that the trucks leave. Meanwhile, Detective Davis and her captain announced a press conference for 7 p.m. watching it on TV. The police disclosed that Ryan Carter had been attacked and killed with a sharp object outside his home. Although a woman was inside the house at the time, there was no indication that she witnessed the attack. The investigation was ongoing. The initial questions revolved around the woman's marital status and whether her husband was a suspect. Detective Davis remarked that, given everyone knew her name, it was assumed she was married. We have conducted a thorough investigation of the husband and have found no indication of his involvement in the attack. In fact, she paused. He appeared to have been at home all night. Detective Davis finished, her gaze sweeping over the reporters. A reporter situated some distance from the scene inquired about other women, particularly married women and their husbands. The police acknowledged systematically investigating claims of Carter seducing married women, finding some truth to them. It seemed Carter had been involved with several married women while their husbands were present, prompting further investigation. Commander Johnson interrupted, concluding the proceedings. "We will share any additional information before the Wednesday briefing," he announced before the police departed amid a flurry of shouted questions. I arranged with the girls' school to have their work delivered or sent electronically for the next few days. I called Richard and Elizabeth, advising them to be wary of the press, though none were present at their house, at least for now. They, too, had vanished from our street. On Tuesday, Dr. Walker called, reporting that Olivia was showing signs of responsiveness and that the police were with her. I informed her parents and took the girls to the hospital. Upon our arrival, the police were just leaving. Detective Davis expressed a desire to talk to me. After meeting with Chloe and Hannah, I agreed. Olivia appeared dazed, exchanging greetings with the girls through smiles and hugs, but her acknowledgement of me seemed minimal. The girls excitedly provided Olivia with updates on the TV trucks and school, momentarily lightening the somber mood. As Olivia seemed to drift off, Dr. Walker suggested we let her rest. While her parents conversed with the girls, I stepped out into the hallway with Detective Davis. "Olivia seems to be on the mend," she remarked. "She might be, but..." I began, unsure how to articulate the turmoil of emotions churning inside me. "Are you planning to take her home when she's recovered?" "Once she's recovered, I'm sure we'll be parting ways." Detective Davis raised an eyebrow, a hint of amusement flickering in her eyes. "Let's give her a break from that. Besides this incident, what other punishment do you think she deserves?" "This isn't about punishment, Detective. It's about respect and trust. I'll never trust her again, and I'll never respect her. And I suspect the feeling's mutual," I replied, my voice cold and even. Detective Davis smiled tightly. "She may even fear you, Mr. Miller. You might be right about that lack of trust." Her tone shifted, becoming pointed. "Don't play coy with me, Mr. Miller. I know you had nothing to do with Carter's death. You were at home, remember? But..." She paused, her eyes locking with mine. "We both know about your army background, your reputation. Maybe a regular guy couldn't have done it. But you? Maybe. It wasn't me, and we both know that. We have the security footage of Carter's house." "You weren't there, Mr. Miller. And that security footage? Not my problem. Let's just say, I'll be seeing you around. Have a good day, Mr. Miller." She turned and walked away, leaving me with a veiled threat hanging in the air. Over the next few days, Olivia gradually exhibited more normal behavior. I took the girls to see her daily but didn't spend much time in the room with them. On the fourth day, Olivia was said to be discharged. She requested a private conversation with me, and I sent the girls out. "Ethan, I'm so sorry for what I did. For everything. I know a simple apology isn't enough. Humiliating you like that." Her voice cracked, and tears welled up in her eyes. "Ethan, I want to come home. I know it won't be easy, but with the media, it'll be chaotic for the girls. Maybe I could sneak out the back?" I gave her a long look. "You're good at sneaking out, Olivia." She winced but didn't look up. "Maybe I could check with security, arrange a discreet exit." "Do what you need to do. I can't say I want you around, but for the girls, for now, I don't have much choice. I didn't want you to get hurt, Olivia. But what you did..." My voice trailed off, unable to articulate the betrayal that still clawed at me. Did Carter sleep with you?" I asked, the question ripped from me like a bandage. "No, we were undressed, in bed, when the commotion started. That's all." I stared at her, knowing she was lying. Could I believe anything she said now? Trusting her again was out of the question. "We'll see how things go, Olivia. But I can't trust you. Not anymore." I stood up, every muscle in my body tense. Despite everything, I still felt a flicker of love for the woman who had been my wife for so long. I leaned down and kissed her forehead. "Get some rest, Olivia. We'll talk more later." I walked out, my mind a storm of conflicting emotions. Later, I went to the hospital security office and arranged for a car to pick Olivia up discreetly behind the building and take her to the house at 4 p.m. The plan went off without a hitch, and she arrived home around 4:45. The kids and her parents were there waiting. I had set up a bed in my office for myself, while Olivia would be sleeping in our room. For now, the rest of the day was strained. Olivia, her mom, and the girls occupied themselves with a game of Monopoly in the living room, while Richard and I retreated to the patio to talk. "What are you going to do, Ethan?" Richard asked, his voice heavy with concern. "Honestly, I don't know. Right now, I just need some space. But the odds are, we're finished. You've been together a long time, Ethan. You have a wonderful family. Don't give up without a fight. Try to forgive her." "Forgive her? Richard, she lied to me. She claims nothing happened with Carter, but..." "You don't know that for sure, Ethan. And even if something did happen, they were together for hours. What if? What if no protection was used? There could be consequences. Diseases, even." The thought made my stomach churn. We both fell silent, the weight of the situation heavy between us. "Look, I agree to let Olivia stay here for now, but you need to figure something else out soon, Ethan. This isn't good for anyone." We rejoined the others inside and ate pizza. Later, Richard and Elizabeth went home. As far as I knew, they didn't discuss Carter with Olivia. While tucking the girls into bed, Chloe spoke up. "Mom, why did you go with that man?" she asked, her voice small and uncertain. "Honey, I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. I was weak." Olivia's voice was thick with tears. But he wasn't there, Mom. Dad said he was attacked. Where was he?" "We'll talk about it later, sweetie. When you're older. I promise." The girls went to bed, and Olivia retreated to the kitchen. 10 minutes later, I followed, pulling out my phone to call my public defender friend about the autopsy report. "Yeah, it's a public document. I'll get it for you." I hung up as Olivia approached, sipping a glass of water. "Are you sleeping in our room tonight?" she asked hesitantly. "No, I'm sleeping in my office." "It's your bed, too. You're welcome anytime, but I know things are uncertain right now." "Uncertain is an understatement, Olivia. This whole thing." I shook my head, at a loss for words. "Just be patient, Ethan. It's only been a week. We'll figure it out." I retreated to my office and lay in the darkness, sleep avoiding me. I woke up at 5 a.m., made coffee, and checked my phone. The autopsy report. I scrolled through it, my heart pounding as I reached the analysis of the injuries. Evidence of male and female secretions on Carter's body. Olivia had lied. She had slept with him. The timeline, her arrival at the scene 2 hours before the police, it all added up. When Olivia came downstairs, we went through the motions of getting the girls ready for school. They were subdued, picking at their breakfast, their usual chatter replaced by an unsettling quiet. While driving them, I found myself reviewing my options. If it weren't for Olivia's illness, I never would have let her back in the house. But there were advantages, for the girls if nothing else. I hoped things would settle down. Just as I pulled back into the driveway, another TV truck pulled up, a young woman jumping out and hurrying towards us. "Mr. Miller, is Olivia home? Have you forgiven her?" she shouted, her voice shrill and invasive. I plastered a smile on my face, holding up a hand. "Don't step on my property," I warned, ushering the girls inside. Olivia met us in the kitchen, her face pale. She had made biscuits. "There's a TV truck outside. I made biscuits. Do you want one?" she stammered, her voice tight with anxiety. I took a biscuit, my mind racing. "They know I'm here. What do they want?" "Do you think they know about you?" Olivia asked hesitantly. "What do they want? They already published everything about me and what I did at Carter's house. What more could they possibly dig up?" I muttered, more to myself than to Olivia. "You'd be surprised what they can think of, Ethan. Especially if..." Olivia's voice trailed off, her gaze fixed on the floor. "If what, Olivia? If you give them something?" Is that what you're saying? Olivia looked up, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and uncertainty. What do you mean? About me? Or about us? I took a deep breath, trying to rein in my anger. What I need, Olivia, is for you to write down exactly what happened last Friday night. From the moment you left with Carter to the moment you ended up in the hospital. Everything, no details omitted. Olivia's face paled. I can try. But it might be difficult, traumatic. It's all still so hazy. Just do it, Olivia. My voice was flat, devoid of emotion. Olivia picked up her phone. I should call work. Let them know I'm okay. See if I still have a job. Why wouldn't you have a job? Because you cheated on me? I doubt they care about that, Olivia. No, it's just, I've been off for a week. They'll want to know when I'm coming back. She explained, her voice shaking slightly. A moment later, she let out a sigh of relief. They're letting me put last week on sick leave, and I can take next week as vacation time. Thank goodness. She retreated to our bedroom to type on her computer while I went to my office. I needed to find out more. I delved back into the autopsy report, this time focusing on the details of the forensic analysis. I called the medical examiner's office and requested the results of the DNA tests, knowing it might take a few days. Despite the circumstances, Olivia was making an effort to act normally around me. I appreciated the attempt but couldn't shake the feeling that she was harboring questions about that night, questions she was afraid to ask. Our uneasy routine continued for 2 days. Olivia had lied. Again. I had been waiting to see what Olivia wrote about that night, but the DNA results extinguished any flicker of hope I had left for our future. I couldn't imagine continuing my life with her as my wife. After dinner the next day, Olivia hesitantly entered my home office. I finished writing, she said, handing me a printout. I took it from her, my expression unreadable. The pages contained a carefully worded narrative, an apology laced with regret for her weakness. She described the events at the club, explaining how Carter's presence had captivated her, how she felt drawn to his charm and reputation. She recounted the slow dance, admitting that in that moment, she would have gone anywhere with him. He had promised her an unforgettable experience. When the dance ended and she returned to our table, she sensed my anger but convinced herself I would get over it. Consumed by her desire for Carter, she slipped out the side door to meet him. At his house, they kissed, and he carried her upstairs to his bed, where they became intimate. Afterward, she cleaned up and tried to settle down, but a car alarm shattered the night. Carter went to investigate, instructing her to wait. From the window, she couldn't see over the porch roof but noticed someone dressed in black running away, jumping the fence. Worried, Olivia found a robe and ran outside to discover Carter lying in the driveway, fatally injured. Guilt and shock washed over her. It felt like it was all her fault. Then the police arrived, and the nightmare that landed her in the hospital began. She apologized again, expressing love and confusion about her actions. I looked up at her, tears streaming down her face. Ethan, that person I saw running away. Was that you? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. I met her gaze, my expression impassive. I was home all night, Olivia. Drinking. Trying to process the fact that my marriage was over, that our life together was about to change forever. Did I hate you in that moment? Yes, but the police confirmed I never left the house. We have the security footage. Olivia nodded slowly. That's what they said, but I cut her off. Olivia, that man got what he deserved. No. Olivia's voice rose in protest. He didn't deserve that. He was kind to me, Ethan. He made me feel things. He had an impact. I stood up, pushing back my chair. We're not discussing this, Olivia. I can't. I'll never be able to love you again. Not after this. The woman I married, the woman I thought you were, she wouldn't have done this. Was it worth it, Olivia? One night with that man, was it worth all of this? What we had, what we built together, what you threw away. My voice cracked, the dam of my anger finally threatening to break. Maybe that night felt intense, Olivia. But it wasn't worth this. It wasn't worth losing everything. I keep thinking, if I had come home to a different scenario, if he hadn't been. But he is gone, and what we had is broken. Irreparably damaged. Olivia backed away, her eyes widening as if I were a stranger. You killed him, didn't you? You were there that night. You killed him. She whirled around and fled the room, her sobs echoing in the hallway. You're the one who caused this, Olivia. I muttered under my breath, my voice filled with a chilling calm. From that moment forward, a frigid distance settled between us. I made a conscious decision to stop trying to convince Olivia of my innocence or salvage our shattered relationship. I would never admit to what had transpired that night. I couldn't risk it. If she truly believed I was capable of murder, she wouldn't hesitate to betray me to the authorities. Her own words echoed in my mind. She was willing to risk everything for that one night with Carter. I contacted Samantha and began the process of filing for divorce. I requested custody of the girls so they could stay in the house. Olivia still had her job, so I asked for no alimony and offered to forego child support, as long as I had liberal visitation rights. Olivia had recovered sufficiently to move out. She went to stay with her parents. I had her served with the divorce papers soon after. It wasn't long before Richard called, his voice shaking with barely suppressed rage. Ethan, what are you doing? Olivia is distraught. You need to withdraw these papers. Quote. She deserves to be distraught. I'm not withdrawing anything. She made her choices, Richard. Tell her to get a lawyer. What about the girls? When can she see them? Richard's voice softened slightly. She can come over anytime she wants. She can even stay until they go to bed. Just not when I'm not here. True to her word, Olivia visited the next day at 5 o'clock. I had prepared macaroni and cheese, the girls' favorite, and we all sat down to dinner together. We played board games, and after story time, I tucked them into bed. Olivia followed me back downstairs, her expression a mixture of hope and trepidation. Ethan, can we talk? We need to work this out, for the girls. They'll have to adjust to a whole new life if we're apart. Maybe we could find a place for them to visit, a neutral space. Ethan, the sooner we figure out this divorce, the sooner we can establish a regular visitation schedule. Please, Ethan, I know I messed up. I'm so sorry. I still love you. Olivia pleaded, her voice thick with unshed tears. Olivia, we're done. There's no coming back from this. Not for me. What you did, it broke something. I can't be married to you anymore. It's time to move on. My voice was firm, resolute. Olivia began to cry quietly, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. As much as a part of me still cared for her, as much as I felt a pang of sympathy, I wouldn't, back down. Our marriage was over. The divorce proceedings were relatively straightforward. We agreed on joint custody, and Olivia found a small apartment with a big second bedroom for the girls. We settled into a distant but civil relationship, our interactions focused solely on Chloe and Hannah's well-being. After about 4 months, I started dating again. Word had spread through our social circle and at work that I was single, and I found myself attracting attention from women I'd known for years. It was strange and flattering and uncomplicated. When Olivia had the girls, I brought several women home, enjoying the casual intimacy, the lack of expectations. These relationships didn't last, but they were fulfilling in their own way, a welcome distraction from the wreckage of my marriage. I stayed away from married women. It felt wrong, hypocritical even, after what I'd been through. Olivia seemed to be coping, though from what little I heard from the girls and her parents, she wasn't doing well. She was on antidepressants, sleeping a lot, but she was holding down her job. As far as I knew, she wasn't dating. 10 years passed. 10 years since that fateful night at the Blue Moon. Chloe was graduating from college, and Hannah was starting her junior year. The girls had adapted to the new normal, navigating the world of shared custody with remarkable resilience. They were thriving, dating, making plans for their futures. As for me, I had found love again. I'd been in a long-term relationship with a younger woman named Ashley, whom I'd met at a bar one night. Like me, she was divorced, with 2 kids at home. Her husband had moved to the West Coast. We met when she was 35, her kids, twins, sophomores in high school. They were both heading off to college soon. Ashley and I had recently decided to take the next step and move in together. I loved her. She was lively and smart, and we had a great relationship. Ashley might not have been as classically beautiful as Olivia, but she was pretty, and men definitely noticed her when we went out. Early on, I told her about the commotion surrounding Carter's death, but I'd never revealed how he died. The publicity had eventually subsided, and no one was ever arrested or charged. One Saturday, Detective Parker showed up at my house unannounced. I was home alone. "Ethan, good to see you again," he said, extending a hand. "I just wanted to stop by, say hello. I retired a few weeks ago. Happy to be receiving that pension, let me tell you." "Congratulations. Retirement looks good on you. So, what brings you here, Detective? Or should I say, Mr. Parker now?" "Let's be honest, Ethan. Off the record, you and I both know you killed that son of a bitch. And maybe he deserved it. Maybe not your wife, though." "I didn't kill anyone, Parker. You know that." "Right. Well, congratulations to whoever did. They did a lot of people a favor." He chuckled. "Why don't you think Olivia deserved it? She was the one who—" "It was one night, Parker. And maybe, just maybe, Olivia did what a lot of married women might do when someone like Carter sets his sights on them. But it wasn't discreet, was it? It was right in my face. We both know if it had been a quiet encounter, a one-time thing, well, maybe Olivia and I would be celebrating our anniversary right now." "Maybe." Parker shrugged. "How's Davis, by the way? Still putting up with you guys over there?" "She's doing well. Captain now, actually. A real go-getter." "Figures." Parker grinned. "Take care of yourself, Ethan." We shook hands, and he left. As for Olivia, she'd recovered, at least physically. We'd fallen into a routine, a shared custody dance we both knew by heart. One morning, after dropping Chloe off at school, I asked Olivia how she was doing. "I'm okay. I have someone, kind of a boyfriend. More like friends with benefits, I guess," she said quietly. "That's good. I'm seeing someone, too. Ashley. She and I are moving in together now that her kids are heading to college." Olivia's eyes welled up, but she quickly blinked the tears away. "I wish none of it had happened, Ethan. I'm sorry for what I put you through. I'm sorry for what I threw away. We could be empty nesters now, having fun. I'm so sorry." And in that moment, the dam broke for both of us. We stood there in the parking lot of our daughter's old elementary school, crying for what was lost, for what could never be. Olivia eventually moved into her friend's apartment. I don't think she ever truly recovered from that night. And neither did I. But as I watched my daughters flourish, I had to admit, I'd never regretted what happened to Ryan Carter. He'd almost destroyed my family, but in the end, maybe his death had saved countless others. A twisted kind of altruism, I supposed. But in the end, as the dust settles, Ethan is left to reflect on the choices he made, the family he tried to protect, and the love that was lost along the way. Olivia's betrayal may have shattered their marriage, but the darkness that followed left scars on them both. Scars that would never fully heal. Ethan finds himself moving forward, but the memories of that fateful night, the decisions he made, and the life they could have had continue to haunt him. Sometimes, even after justice is served, the cost of revenge is far greater than we ever imagined.